The Young and the Restless spoilers. There in the Newman Ranch living room was thick with the scent of pine and expensive scotch, a comforting warmth that belied the crisp Wisconsin winter outside. It was a rare moment of tranquility for the clan. Victor Newman sat in his favorite leather armchair, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips as he surveyed his family. Nicky was by the piano, laughing softly at something Nick was saying, while Noah stood near the fireplace, his arm brushing against Sienna's. They had survived the chaos in Los Angeles, escaped the clutches of Mitch Bacall, and now, finally, they were safe. The nightmare was supposed to be over. To family, Victor announced, raising his glass, his voice commanding the room's attention. And to having everyone home where they belong. To family, the others echoed, the clinking of crystal chiming like a bell of peace. Sienna looked up at Noah, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and adoration. She had risked everything for him: her marriage, her safety, her reputation. Standing here in the heart of the Newman sanctuary, she finally felt like the turmoil was worth it. Noah squeezed her hand, a silent promise that the worst was behind them. Then, the heavy oak doors of the ranch swung open with a resounding thud that silenced the room instantly. The festive chatter died in throats. The warmth seemed to be sucked out into the cold night air. Standing in the entryway was Audra Charles. She looked impeccable as always, her coat tailored to perfection, her dark hair cascading in waves. But it wasn't her sudden appearance that froze the blood in Noah's veins. It was the small hand she was holding. Attached to Audra was a little girl, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, with dark, intelligent eyes and a shy demeanor. She clung to Audra's leg, looking up at the room full of strangers with wide, fearful eyes. "Audra!" Victor's voice was a low growl, the hospitality vanishing from his face. "You were not invited." "I didn't come for the party, Victor," Audra said, her voice steady, though her grip on the child's hand tightened visibly. She walked further into the room, the click of her heels on the hardwood echoing like gunshots. She stopped a few feet from Noah and Sienna. Noah stepped forward, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Audra, what is this? Who is that?" Audra looked down at the girl, smoothing a stray lock of hair from the child's forehead with a tenderness that seemed alien to the woman known for her corporate ruthlessness. She looked back up, locking eyes with Noah. "This is Maya," she said, her voice ringing with a clarity that sliced through the tension. "She's your daughter, Noah." The silence that followed was absolute, a vacuum where sound refused to exist. Noah blinked, once, twice, as if trying to process a language he didn't speak. He shook his head, a nervous, incredulous laugh escaping his lips. That's impossible. You're lying." "I'm not," Audra replied, her chin lifting defiantly. "We lost the baby." Noah's voice rose, cracking with the weight of the old wound. "In London. You told me you miscarried. We mourned that child, Audra. You looked me in the eye and told me our baby was gone." Sienna pulled her hand away from Noah's arm as if burned. She took a step back, her face draining of color. The air around her felt thin, suffocating. She looked from Noah's desperate face to the little girl who bore an undeniable resemblance to the Newman featureless shape of the eyes, the set of the jaw. "I lied," Audra confessed, the words landing like stones. "I didn't lose the baby, Noah. I was scared. We were toxic. We were fighting every single day. And I knew if I told you I was keeping her, we would be tied together in that misery forever. I wanted to save her from us. You kept my child from me," Noah whispered, the horror of the betrayal sinking in. "For 6 years. You let me believe she was dead. I did what I thought was necessary to survive," Audra snapped, her composure cracking for a split second before she regained it. "But things have changed. I can't do this alone anymore. She deserves to know her father. She deserves her birthright." Sienna felt the room spinning. The man she had just gone to war for, the man whose honesty she had clung to amidst the lies of her own husband, was now standing in the center of a deception so vast it eclipsed everything else. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling. Did you have any idea?" Noah spun around to face her, panic wild in his eyes. "No. Sienna, you have to believe me. I swear on my life, I didn't know. She told me she miscarried. I grieved 4 years. But she's here," Sienna said, her voice hollow. She looked at the child, innocent and confused, standing as living proof of a history Noah had claimed was finished. "She's right here." Victor slammed his glass down on the side table, the sound making the little girl jump. Enough, he bellowed, striding toward Audra. Nikki was right behind him, her face a mask of shock and protective fury. You walk into my home, Victor hissed, towering over Audra, parading this child around like a bargaining chip. You expect us to believe this convenient revelation after 6 years of silence? I don't expect you to like it, Victor, Audra countered, shielding Maya with her body. But you can't deny biology. Look at her. Nikki stepped forward, her eyes scanning the child's face. She gasped softly, her hand flying to her mouth. The resemblance to a young Noah was haunting. Victor, she whispered, tugging on his sleeve. She has his eyes. I want a paternity test, Victor demanded, his voice cold as steel. Immediately. Until then, you will not utter a word of this to the press. Do you understand me? I'm not here for the press, Audra said, her gaze shifting back to Noah, softening slightly. I'm here for him. Noah, I know you hate me right now. You have every right to. But don't punish Maya for my mistakes. Noah looked at the little girl. Maya stared back, clutching a small stuffed rabbit, her lower lip trembling. The anger that was boiling inside him warred with a sudden, crushing wave of paternal instinct. This was his daughter. This living, breathing person had existed in the world while he was mourning a ghost. Why now? Noah asked, his voice breaking. Why bring her here now, Audra? After everything. Because I saw you with her, Audra said, tilting her head toward Sienna. I saw you moving on, building a new life, maybe starting a new family. And I realized I couldn't let Maya be a secret forever. She asks about her dad. What was I supposed to keep telling her? Sienna felt a tear slide down her cheek. She felt like an intruder in her own love story. The bond she shared with Noah, forged in the fire of their recent ordeal, suddenly felt fragile compared to the 6-year-old secret standing on the rug. She looked at Noah, waiting for him to dismiss Audra, to scream, to order them out. But he didn't. He couldn't take his eyes off the girl. I can't believe this, Sienna choked out. She backed away further. I can't be here. Sienna, wait, Noah reached for her, but he was anchored by the gravity of the child before him. He was torn, physically and emotionally, between the woman he loved and the daughter he never knew he had. Let her go, Noah, Audra said softly. This is family business. You are not family, Noah roared, turning on Audra with a ferocity that made Maya whimper. He instantly softened, crouching down to the child's eye level, though he kept a safe distance. I'm sorry, he murmured to the girl. I'm not yelling at you. Victor stepped between Sienna and the door, his expression softening as he looked at the woman who had helped save his grandson. Sienna, you do not have to leave. We will get to the bottom of this. There is no bottom, Victor, Sienna said, her voice trembling with a mix of sorrow and bitterness. This isn't a scheme or a trap Mitch set for us. This is a child. His child. And she pointed a shaking finger at Audra. She has been holding this grenade for 6 years waiting to pull the pin. Sienna looked at Noah one last time. He was still crouched on the floor, staring at Maya as if she were a ghost. He looked paralyzed, his world fractured beyond repair. He didn't come to her. He didn't chase her. I need air, Sienna whispered, slipping past Victor and disappearing into the cold hallway. The room fell silent again, save for the crackling of the fire. The festive atmosphere was dead, replaced by the cold, hard reality of the Newman legacy expanding in the most painful way possible. You have a lot of explaining to do, Nikki said, her voice icy as she glared at Audra. And if you think you can use this child to manipulate your way back into this family or into this company, you are sorely mistaken. I don't want your money, Nikki, Audra lied smoothly, though the glint in her eye suggested otherwise. I just want Noah to know his daughter. Noah slowly stood up. He looked at Audra, his expression hardening into something unrecognizable. The boyish charm was gone, replaced by the weary cynicism of a Newman scorned. You said she's mine, Noah said, his voice low and dangerous. If that test proves it, if she really is my daughter, then you better be prepared, Audra. Prepared for what? She asked. To lose her, Noah said. Because if you think I'm going to let you raise my child after you let me believe she was dead, you don't know me at all. You don't know what it means to be a Newman. Audra's confident mask faltered for the first time. She pulled Maya closer. You wouldn't. Try me, Noah challenged. The grandfather clock in the hall chimed the hour, a mournful toll that signaled the end of the evening and the beginning of a war. The secrets of the past had arrived on the doorstep, and the future of the Newman family had just been rewritten in the span of a heartbeat. The aroma of roasted espresso beans and stale cinnamon hung heavy in the air at crimson lights, doing little to mask the suffocating tension radiating from the corner table. Sienna Bacall sat rigid, her knuckles white as she gripped her ceramic mug, though the coffee inside had long since gone cold. The chatter of Genoa City's mid-morning crowd faded into a dull roar in her ears, serving only as background noise to the storm brewing behind her eyes. She was still vibrating from the chaos of the last few weeks' car crash, the abduction, the terrifying uncertainty of whether Noah would survive Mitch's vendetta. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Noah's battered face, heard the desperation in his voice. They had barely made it out of Los Angeles alive, and now, back in the supposed safety of Wisconsin, a new threat had emerged. One that didn't carry a gun, but wielded words just as lethal. Audra Charles breezed onto the patio, her heels clicking a sharp, rhythmic warning against the tile floor. She looked impeccable, as always a sleek, armored vision in a tailored blazer that cost more than most people's cars. She spotted Sienna and paused, a flicker of annoyance crossing her features before she smoothed it into a mask of cool indifference. "You wanted to see me?" Audra asked, sliding into the chair opposite Sienna without waiting for an invitation. She didn't remove her sunglasses immediately, a calculated move to maintain the upper hand. "I'm on a tight schedule, Sienna. If this is about Noah's recovery, I'm sure the Newmans have that covered." Sienna didn't blink. The exhaustion etched into her face only sharpened her glare. "Cut the act, Audra. You know exactly why I'm here." Audra sighed, removing her glasses with a slow, deliberate motion. Her dark eyes were unreadable. "I really don't. Unless you're planning to lecture me on workplace etiquette or something equally mundane." "It's about the baby," Sienna said, her voice low but trembling with a dangerous intensity. "The one you're claiming is Noah's." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Audra stiffened imperceptibly, her perfectly manicured fingers tightening around the stem of her sunglasses. She leaned back, crossing her arms defensively. "I don't know what you're talking about," Audra deflected, her tone light, dismissive. "Rumors fly around this town like pollen. You shouldn't believe everything you hear." "This didn't come from a rumor mill," Sienna snapped, leaning forward. "It came from you. I know what you said, and I know the timing doesn't add up. Noah has been with me. We've been fighting for our lives in LA, while you've been here, playing your corporate games. Noah and I have a history," Audra countered smoothly, though a vein in her neck pulsed. "A complicated one. Just because you're the flavor of the month doesn't mean you know everything that happened before you came into the picture." "I know Noah," Sienna shot back. "And I know he wouldn't lie to me about this. He's been through hell, Audra. He nearly died. And now you're trying to trap him with a lie. I want the truth. Are you really pregnant, or is this just another leverage play?" Audra's eyes flashed with genuine anger now. The accusation hit a nerve, cracking her polished veneer. "You think you can just waltz into this town, with your baggage and your drama, and interrogate me? You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I'm dealing with a desperate woman," Sienna said, her voice rising, drawing the attention of a nearby couple. "A woman who realizes she's lost her grip on power and is using a non-existent child to claw her way back into the Newman orbit. It's pathetic, Audra." "Watch your mouth," Audra hissed, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "My medical history is none of your business. And my relationship with no whatever it is or was is private. You are an outsider, Sienna. You don't belong here." "I'm not going anywhere," Sienna said, slamming her hand down on the table. The clatter of silverware made several patrons jump. "And I'm not going to let you destroy Noah's life just because you're lonely and vindictive. Tell me the truth. Is there a baby, or are you lying?" "I don't answer to you," Audra shouted, abandoning her composure entirely. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You're nothing. Just some fling Noah picked up on the West Coast to distract himself." "Answer the question," Sienna demanded, standing up to meet her. They were nose to nose now, the air between them electric with hostility. "Admit it, Audra. It's a lie." The snap was loud, sharp, and shocking. Audra's hand connected with Sienna's cheek with a force that whipped Sienna's head to the side. The sound echoed through the coffee house, bringing the bustling room to a dead halt. The barista froze mid-pour. Conversations died instantly. Sienna stood paralyzed, the sting radiating across her face like a brand. Her hand flew to her cheek, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and fury. For a second, the only sound was her own ragged breathing. Audra stood there, her chest heaving, her hands still tingling from the impact. There was a flicker of regret in her eyes, quickly swallowed by defensive rage. She smoothed her blazer, regaining her posture, though her hands shook slightly. "Stay out of my family affairs," Audra spat, her voice trembling with adrenaline. "This is between me and Noah. You are irrelevant. Don't ever corner me again." She grabbed her purse, casting one last look of disdain at Sienna before turning on her heel. She marched out of the coffee house, the click of her heels sounding like gunshots in the silence she left behind. Sienna remained standing, the red imprint of Audra's hand blooming on her skin. The physical pain was sharp, throbbing in time with her heartbeat, but it was the humiliation and the cold realization of Audra's volatility that truly stung. She looked around, seeing the pitying glances of the other patrons, and felt a cold resolve settle in her gut. She slowly lowered her hand from her cheek. The shock was fading, replaced by a cold, hard knot of determination. Audra had made a mistake. She thought violence would silence Sienna, that it would scare her off back to Los Angeles. But as Sienna watched the door swing shut, she knew the war had just begun. "You want to fight, Audra?" Sienna whispered to the empty air, her voice steady and lethal. "You've got one." She wouldn't just sit back and hope for the best. She was going to find out the truth about this alleged pregnancy. She would tear apart every medical record, every lie, every scheme until she exposed Audra for exactly who she was. She had fought Mitch to save Noah. She wasn't about to let Audra Charles destroy him now. Sienna grabbed her jacket, wincing slightly as the movement pulled at the bruising on her face. She didn't care about the stares anymore. She had a mission. And God help Audra when the truth finally came out.